Whoa, what is that, Scott?
It's the high water mark from the 97 flood.
Wait, the sign is the high water mark?
No. It's the top of the pole.
Whoa!
I'll tell you all about it. I'm Scott Trout.
And I'm Matt Beall. And we're from Pooter High School.
Pooter High School hit the line like thunder, never to give in.
Scott. Okay, hope your summer's been great. And as you're ready, as much as you can be, to be back in school.
I'm always ready once I get back in the swing of things. But today, we're excited to give you an update on our latest climate and water conditions.
Our water report today is for the month of July 2009.
We've been monitoring our conditions every month since last October, which was the first month of the 2009 water year.
And we report on local conditions like precipitation, stream flow on the Pooter River, and water storage in Horsetooth Reservoir.
And we'll continue as we move through the end of the 2009 water year,
which is the last day of September.
Then, on October 1st, we'll begin the new water year.
That's right!
Woo! Woo! So check this out. I'm studying the height of the water that flowed here at Spring Creek during the famous 97 Fort Collins flood. I was only 5 years old at the time, but here's what I remember. I was walking down the street, bopping to my own beat. It started to rain, I was in for a treat.
Wiki, wiki, wiki!
The water started rising, but I didn't miss a beat. Up to my ankles, the water did meet.
Wiki, wiki, wiki!
Then a wall of water came and I was like, wait, I'm going home now, cause death I will cheat. Word.
Nice job, Scott.
Thanks.
But did you know that flood in 97 on July 28th resulted in 5 deaths, 62 injuries, and more than $250 million in property damage? It was one of the worst floods in Fort Collins recorded history.
You're right, Matt. We shouldn't make light of the situation. And did you also know that those rains and that type of flooding is more likely to occur later in the summer than any other time throughout the year?
That's right. There have been several dangerous flash floods along the Front Range of southern Wyoming and northern Colorado.
The Big Thompson in 1976.
Cheyenne, Wyoming in 1985.
And as we just mentioned, Fort Collins in 1997.
They have all occurred during late July and early August.
And you gotta wonder why.
Well, each of the floods we mentioned previously are strongly tied to the monsoon season.
Whoa, Matt. Monsoon season?
That's right.
Most people think that monsoons only happen in India and throughout Eastern Asia.
Well, they happen here too, and for the same reasons.
And why do they happen in the first place?
Well, what do you think happens when the summertime sun beats down on the continents and the oceans?
Everything heats up, and the land heats up faster than the water in the oceans.
By mid to late summer, the land heats up so much that there is actually a shift in the wind pattern.
Wow.
The wind direction changes and begins to blow from the ocean onto the land, where land is near large bodies of water.
Yeah. All that summertime heating over the desert in the southwest creates a low pressure which draws in warm, moist air from the Gulf of California, Gulf of Mexico, and the Pacific Ocean.
On the North American continent, it occurs in areas of Mexico and the southwest US, and we call that the North American monsoon.
And all that evaporation from those large bodies of water is the source of moisture, and ultimately, lots and lots of rain.
Wow, I've always wondered why we get so much rain in late summer and why we have all those late afternoon thunderstorms. Now I know.
And although the monsoon results in many of our summer storms, they're not the only cause.
Storms are stronger because there is more moisture, and they move slower because of weaker winds.
That's interesting, Matt. Thanks for sharing.
Anytime, Scott.
All right, we'll start with our average monthly precipitation here in Fort Collins. This information represents monthly averages for over 30 years.
That's right. Our graph shows us that the average monthly precipitation, shown here in blue, varies from a low in February of less than ½ an inch to a high in May of over 2.5 inches.
Now look at the current 2009 water year, shown in red.
Let's compare the two. Our average precipitation during the month of July is typically 1.86 inches, yet this year we received 3.95 inches on the CSU campus.
Wow, we're way above average for precipitation, and it certainly has felt this way this summer.
Check this out. Here's the average flow rate on the Poudre, taken over many years, shown in blue.
The red line is the current flow rate on the Poudre at the mouth of the canyon. As you can see, the spring runoff curve did end up with two major spikes. The story is that the river flows higher when the weather is warm because more snow is melting. And then when the weather drops and is colder, the flow rate drops because less snow is melting.
Basically, high temperatures, high flow rate. Low temperatures, low flow rate.
That's right, Matt. Nicely put. Up until now, most of the snow throughout the watershed has melted. And even though we've had a lot of rain, the flow rates keep dropping because most of the snow is now gone.
And we're almost back to the base flow conditions, which means that most of the runoff from the stored water and melting snow is now over.
The data does tell a story, and it's all about weather and water.
All right, but what about the water levels on Horsetooth? I read an article in the paper that Horsetooth Reservoir level is higher than it's been in years.
That's right, Matt. But Horsetooth currently lost 3 feet last month. It's the first drop in water elevation we've seen since November.
Last year, Horsetooth started losing water in April, which is mostly due to water diversion for irrigation. But with all the rain we've had this year, Horsetooth didn't start its decline until this past month of July.
So we probably have more water than we've had for quite a long time, considering the drought years. But hey, I want to show you something before we finish.
Really? What is it?
Let me go get it. It's called a rain gauge, and I use it to measure and record precipitation. I have it set up at my house.
What do you do with it?
Well, let me give you some history before I answer that question.
All right.
As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that 12 years ago, Fort Collins experienced the worst flood in recorded history. And in April 1999, we had huge rains and more flooding.
Then we were hit by drought and then a few major snowstorms.
Yeah, but we got out of school, remember?
That's right. So we're lucky to live in a place that has lots of interesting weather.
Well, we're also lucky to have the state climatologist Nolan Duskin living and working right here in Fort Collins at CSU. Word to Nolan Duskin. And following the flood of 1997, Mr. Duskin organized several schools within Poudre School District to help start a special climate monitoring and education project called Coco Ross.
Coco Ross? What's that?
That's short for Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network.
Yeah? So what's happened in Coco Ross over these past 12 years?
Well, Matt, it all started with a few volunteers. And now, it's a national program that has thousands of volunteers across the country helping track rain, snow, and hail using simple rain gauges like these.
And hail pads. Can anybody do it?
That's right. Anyone can become a volunteer, young or old. And each time it rains, hails, or snows in your area, you record the measurement. Then the records are recorded on the website at www.cocoross.org. Did you know that in Colorado alone, an average of 600 volunteers per day in the past month reported to Coco Ross?
And did you know that 49 out of 50 states in the U.S. participate in volunteer monitoring for Coco Ross? Booyah to ya, Coco Ross.
You know, Matt, I'd really like to know which that one state is.
I think it's Minnesota.
Thought so. Yeah, sure, you betcha. Thanks to Coco Ross for helping us monitor local water conditions across the country. This information will help us better understand our climate.
Excellent report, Scott.
Thanks, Matt.
This wraps it up for the July 2009 Water Report on floods and our current weather and water conditions.
We'll see everyone in a month for a recap of our conditions for August 2009. In August, our focus of the month will be on drought, another extreme water condition.
All right, see ya.
See ya, everyone.